So in this lesson of the tutorial, we need to go ahead and make all of our facial connection, all of our facial connections to our face machine setup and for our facial GUI. And it's just simply, we won't be using parent constraints. We're going to be using connection enter to actually make all of the connections. Only because if you use parent constraints, it tends to get a little bit wonky. But if we use, the connection editor, it's just simply going to connect the channels that you need without really any constraints. It's not really, making and putting any extra constraints in the rig. It's just basically a parenting convention, and this is just simply where it's going to take a lot of extra time. And as you can see, once we make one connection, that since it's going to drive it well, we can simply just keep doing it. You could probably do this through mill script, and it'll end up being a lot faster. But since I'm not really a scripter, I sort of have to do it manually through the connection editor. It's just basically staying focused and just getting them all done properly. As you can see there, I'm just connecting, the translate channels to the translate channels. And this is definitely just where it takes a little bit of extra time to go ahead and make all the connections. I mean, it's just, just such a repetitive process. It's basically the set driven key system in the connection area. That's really all it is. Just connect the translate channels to the translate channels. Since we aren't going to be using the rotate channels or the scale channels for each of the controls, we don't have to go ahead and connect those. The system is just simply driven by translate. So we just connect it and connect the facial GUI to the actual face machine. So it's real simple to go ahead and do. And it just takes a little bit of extra time to go ahead and make all of our connections properly. As you can see, I'm simply just making some eyebrow controls here. I mean, there are some, as you can see, some edits while we're still making the connections, and that's okay. Those will just be, representative shapes there. They won't really control anything until the final pieces that we need to go ahead and do. But we'll have to, make probably a parent constraint on those eyebrows to be able to control all of the brow shape controls. But we can do that later. I'm just trying to, make the conventions, the connections proper here. And I'll just simply, continue to make all of our connections through the connection editor. me get this out of the way so you guys can see me actually make the connections here of what I'm selecting. This is definitely hard because screen real estate is definitely a premium here. But the general idea is you just select one, reload it in the left, and then select something from the actual face machine, and then reload that to the right side, and then just simply make the connections. It just takes a little bit of time to go ahead and select everything that we need and just make the connections. Definitely a boring process, but just have to do it. As you can see, you can either select them all or move them all individually, and that's very important in terms of control with inside of the rig. And then along with blend shapes, you definitely have a lot of control for animation. And as you can see, this just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience to go ahead and make all of our connections, and definitely a boring process, but necessary, so it just takes time. And it would simply, be the same process if, say you were creating sliders for controlling, the blend shape nodes, and it's just basically the same process. It's definitely a very, very tedious process. But like I said, it just takes a little bit of time. And as you can see, we've pretty much made the connections that we need to make. And, you know, you have a lot of control in there. And I just parented the face GUI master to the head control curve there. And make sure we lock and hide the selection, lock and hide the channels on that facial master GUI so that you can't actually move the GUI. The GUI will move with the rig. And now I'm adding one extra curve to be able to turn the face GUI on and off as needed. And I'll just parent this to the hip master controller, the main part of the rig. And I'll just add an attribute to it, an enum attribute. That way I can turn it off and turn it on as needed. And just simply rename, you know, the attributes in the box there. And it's just simply the same thing, you know, just add the connections through the connection editor instead of using, you know, a set driven key. I'm not exactly sure why that's not turning off there. I have to go ahead and fix it here. I might actually have to go ahead and do it through the set driven key window. And that's just simply because I think I have the channels locked and hidden here. That's probably what it is. As you can see, I forgot to make one connection there. And we'll go ahead and make all of our blend shape connections here. And that's just simply turning on the layer, selecting them all, then selecting the body, and just make the connections. And that helps in terms of, you know, make sure you save those shapes just in case you have to, you know, edit the shapes later. just make sure you name the nodes correctly here, or name it so that it's very understandable in terms of what it is. And just go ahead and select all of those shapes there and make a blend shape node for those. And there you go, there's all of our blend shapes made. And now I'm just checking to make sure they all work properly.